All right, strap in, everyone, because we're diving deep into Elon Musk's brain trust today.
We are. And let me tell you, this one's a doozy. We're talking about some seriously heavy stuff. War, peace, AI, even the meaning of life gets a look in.
You know it's going to be good when those topics are all on the table? And the source material. Pure Elon, insightful, provocative, and, as always, a little bit all over the place.
Classic Musk, which is exactly why we love to unpack these conversations. You guys sent this one in from the Fridman podcast, and it is a goldmine.
Buckle up, because we're about to unearth some seriously valuable insights. So to kick things off, Elon Musk on War and Peace, he seems to hold this, well, kind of contradictory stance.
Totally.
Yeah.
He's all about advocating for peace, right? But then he also acknowledges that war, it might just be baked into us as humans. It's a bit of a head scratcher.
It really is. It's like that classic saying, make love, not war, crashing headfirst into the reality of human history.
And no one shies away from a good reality check like Elon Musk. He's got this whole argument about how humans have this unique ability for self-awareness when it comes to violence, something that sets us apart from other species.
He uses the example of chimps, who aren't exactly known for, their peaceful negotiations.
He actually compares chimp society to living in a never-ending purge film, which honestly is a terrifying but accurate analogy.
Seriously. But the point he makes is that with greater intelligence, at least in theory, comes a greater ability to control those destructive urges, which makes all those power struggles we see throughout history, well, even more significant.
And those historical power struggles lead us right to what's known as the Thucydides trap. The idea that when you've got a rising power challenging a dominant one, conflict is almost unavoidable.
It's like a law of nature, at least when it comes to international relations. And for Musk, it's not just some academic theory either.
No way. This is a guy running companies in both the US and China right in the thick of that tension. Talk about a high-stakes game.
Seriously high stakes. And it's his insights on China specifically that are really fascinating. He spent a lot of time there, and he emphasizes just how internally focused their culture is. There's this huge emphasis on long-term planning.
We're talking generations-long vision, right?
Yeah.
Like they're playing a completely different game, one where the finish line is centuries away.
Exactly. So the big question is, does that long-term thinking make China less likely to be expansionist, less focused on, as Musk puts it, being inquisitive about other nations' territories?
$1 million question right there.
Billion-dollar question, maybe. And the Israel-Palestine situation, he digs into that too, and his take is definitely thought-provoking.
It is. He starts by highlighting that just heartbreaking cycle of violence in the region, how every act of aggression just seems to create more suffering, more hatred.
It's a vicious cycle that feels almost impossible to break.
And then he throws out this radical, almost naive-sounding solution.
Conspicuous acts of kindness. I'll admit, when I first heard him say it, I was like, is this really going to work?
It sounds way too simplistic. But then he connects it back to the Marshall Plan after World War II, how the U.S. stepped in to help rebuild Europe, even after all that destruction. And it starts to make you wonder.
It's like he's flipping the script. What if, instead of responding to violence with more violence, one side responded with, extreme generosity? It's definitely not the typical approach.
And it makes you realize that for Musk, maybe eliminating conflict altogether isn't actually the goal. It's about minimizing suffering. That's the metric that really matters.
It's like he's looking at the bigger picture when it comes to suffering, Trying to find a way forward that minimizes the bad stuff, especially with all this AI stuff developing so fast.
And that brings us to Grok, xAI's new AI assistant.
Yeah.
Everyone's talking about it. And not just because it can tell a decent joke.
Right. That whole fun mode thing, it's more than just a gimmick. There's a real philosophical foundation there, something that sets it apart.
100%. See, Musk has said it before. We don't actually know the meaning of life. Not really.
No.
But maybe, just maybe, by pushing those boundaries of consciousness, both our own and that of AI, we can start asking the right questions. The big ones.
It's like he's saying, let's build something so smart, so self-aware, that helps us understand our own place in the universe a little better.
Precisely. And that's where Grok comes in. He's not just trying to build another clever chatbot.
Oh, no, not at all.
He wants Grok grounded in something solid. Physics, logic, the fundamental laws of reality.
And instead of just, browsing the internet and spitting out whatever it finds.
Exactly. The goal here is genuine discovery, to see if Grok can actually make breakthroughs, not just rehash what's already out there.
Which is a big difference from a lot of the AI we see right now. A lot of it is great at sounding all human and everything, but like Musk says, it can be confidently wrong.
especially when it comes to tackling the really complex stuff.
Which is a little bit scary when you think about it.
Definitely.
Okay.
But here's where it gets really interesting. He makes this connection, right, between developing AI and actually understanding consciousness itself.
Whoa, okay, I'm listening.
It's like he's asking, what if we could build something that truly understands what it means to be sentient? Could AI actually help us crack the code of what makes you, well, you?
It's a mind-blowing question, and one that actually leads us to, well, maybe a surprising topic, video games.
Because for Musk, gaming isn't just a hobby, right? It's a way to study intelligence, problem solving, maybe even the nature of reality itself.
And he's a pretty serious gamer himself, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And he tells this story, right, about battling Uber Lilith in Diablo.
Hatred incarnate, right.
That's the one. So picture this Musk is playing as a druid, which he admits later might not have been the most strategic choice against this particular foe.
Oops.
But the whole thing becomes this amazing metaphor. Is defeating hatred even possible? In the game, sure, but in the real world, it makes you wonder.
And it brings us right back to that earlier conversation about peace, right? What if true peace can't be forced? What if it has to be something we choose, something we maybe even have to fight for? It's easy to go down these rabbit holes with AI. It's all very big think, you know. But Musk brings it back down to earth. He has some practical concerns about how we actually build advanced AI.
Responsibly, right. He's definitely concerned about that, especially the tension between open sourcing AI technology and the risk of, like, one company having all the control.
Right, like a monopoly on superintelligence.
Exactly. We're talking about AGI here. Artificial general intelligence AI that's as smart as a human, maybe even smarter.
And this is where his history with OpenAI gets really interesting. He co-founded it, right? Poured millions into it, believed in the whole open source approach.
He did. And it's clear he's disappointed with the direction it's taken. Those close ties with Microsoft. Not exactly what he had in mind.
He sees it as this pattern he calls regulatory capture.
Which basically means powerful groups rigging the system in their favor, often at the expense of everyone else.
And he uses the example of the SEC, you know, the Securities and Exchange Commission, the guys who are supposed to keep the stock market fair. And he thinks they've dropped the ball when it comes to regulating hedge funds that were shorting Tesla.
He does. He believes they were manipulating the market, trying to make money off Tesla's potential downfall.
Which, if true, would be a pretty clear example of regulatory capture, right? The people with the money and power getting away with stuff they shouldn't.
Exactly. It's like he's constantly fighting these uphill battles, whether it's in finance or AI development or even just trying to, launch a rocket into space.
Speaking of launching rockets, did you hear about the seal with headphones story? It's about SpaceX.
Oh, man, that's classic Elon. Can't believe that actually happened.
Okay, so apparently some regulators were worried about sonic booms from the rockets, right? They thought it might be messing with the local seal population.
Yeah, I guess those sonic booms can get pretty intense.
So to address this very serious concern, SpaceX literally had to capture a seal, put it on a board, slap some headphones on it, and then play recordings of sonic booms at different volumes.
No way they actually did that.
I know, right? All to see if the seal would freak out. It's both hilarious and kind of sad at the same time.
Poor seal. Just trying to live its best life, and then bam, forced to be part of a science experiment.
But it just goes to show, right? The lengths Musk has to go to in order to do what he does.
And then, like the total curveball king he is, he'll go from talking about seals with headphones to something totally different, like his vision for the future of X, formerly Twitter.
I know. Total left turn. But he has these really big ideas for how AI can be used to personalize the user experience. And I don't just mean serving up viral videos.
No, he's talking about something deeper.
He wants to create unregretted minutes.
It's a cool concept, right? Imagine if you could spend less time on things you end up regretting, doom scrolling, mindless arguments, and more time on stuff that actually matters.
Sign me up for that. I think the community notes feature they're trying out on X is a really interesting step in that direction.
I do too. It's amazing how they can take a controversial topic, something that could easily devolve into a shouting match, and through that crowdsourced fact-checking, they can actually get to a more nuanced, accurate understanding.
It's like a microcosm for how productive disagreement can actually work, if we let it.
And maybe, just maybe, that's what Musk is getting at. This hope that we can engage with tough topics, challenge each other's ideas, even laugh a little along the way without forgetting, our shared humanity.
That would be nice, wouldn't it?
I think so.
Well, this whole conversation has been quite the roller coaster. From war to peace, AI, seals with headphones, you name it, we've covered it.
Only Elon Musk could bring all of those things together in one conversation.
And that's what makes it so interesting, right? He forces you to think bigger, to make connections you wouldn't normally make.
Yeah. And maybe those connections are the whole point. It's not about finding all the answers, right? It's about the journey, the exploration.
Well said. Well, on that note, we'll leave you all to ponder that very thought. Thanks for joining us for this wild ride through the mind of Elon Musk. Until next time.